Welcome to the Boomer Briefing Podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm your host, John Hubbard, shareholder and consultant here at Boomer Consulting. And with me today is Jim Boomer. Hi, Jim. Thank you for being on this episode of the podcast.
Hi, John. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Jim is our CEO, and typically I'm the one asking the questions. But this episode, we're going to flip the script, and Jim is going to ask me the questions. But the topic we have to discuss is around how your firm can get media attention. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you and see what questions you have for me.
All right. Thank you, John. I kind of like this more and more. We're flipping the script here. So I get to get in the easy chair here and ask you a few questions. So great topic. And an important one. I think we're all trying to figure out how do you stand out in a information-packed world that you need to differentiate yourself. And I think gaining media attention is an important topic. So hopefully I didn't steal your thunder, but why do you think it's important for firms to gain media attention?
Yeah, I think it's important firms to think about it because, well, for a couple of reasons. One is most firms have thought to themselves, well, media attention is something that we can't control, is something that happens to us, is not something we can influence. However, proper media attention can actually be a really great driver of business. It can be a really great driver of attracting the type of talent that you want to have in your firm. So if you're interested in recruiting and attracting the best to your firm, well, media attention is important. And media attention, again, with the right media attention, can bring a lot of credibility to your organization. And so those are just few of the reasons why I think it's really important firms start to develop a proactive strategy around this.
Yeah, I would agree. I want to ask you a follow on one thing you said yet. Now, would you agree with this? You said it's not, media attention isn't necessarily something we can control. Yes, we don't have direct control, but wouldn't you agree that we have influence over it? So there's some actions we can take that can, as you said, I like the word drive, but also to influence whether or not we have media attention and whether or not it's good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me clarify that statement. I think a lot of firms believe it's something they can't control, but you actually can influence. It's something you can proactively kind of create the type of media attention that you want. So there's more levers there at our disposal to pull, at firms' disposals to pull, than what they may think otherwise.
Yeah. Good addition there. So what tips do you have for firms that are looking to expand the media attention that their firm's currently getting?
Yeah, and I can share with you 5 steps, and I'm actually going to take some of these steps from our marketing manager, Heather Robinson, wrote a great article recently on this topic. And so I'm going to share with you some of the information she shares, but I want to share with you 5 steps. And the first one I think can be the most powerful, and that is actually getting clear on who you want to reach. Okay, so media attention for media attention's sake is only so valuable, right? But in the intro to this podcast, I talked about clients and talked about talent, the type of people you want to attract. So I think getting real clear on who's the audience that we want to reach out to, okay, that we want to receive notice of the type of attention we want, to maybe read those articles, see that news post, listen to that, podcast, things of that sort. But getting clear on who do we want to reach will influence the strategies and the channels that you use from a media perspective to reach that audience. Okay, so that's kind of step 1, is getting clear, who do we want to reach? Now, step 2 is, once you have that audience in mind, Well, let's do a little bit of research into the channels we can use to reach that audience. Okay. So if you want to reach some of the best talent in your local area, or if you want to reach, if your target market are business owners in manufacturing because you have an outsourced CFO service that is targeting them, well, you're going to have different strategies there. So step two is all about identifying a few key channels that you can tap into. Those channels include journalists, editors, individuals that you should be building a relationship with that help control, create messaging, create media attention. So step two is all about identifying those channels and those individuals within those channels that will give you access to that audience. Okay, so if that's step two, step three is kind of having an offer for them. So Jim, you know what it's like, being CEO of Boomer Consulting. We get asked all the time from various individuals, hey, can we use your platform to promote something? Or can we use your platform to get a message out to other individuals? And while we always consider those, we're also trying to align our business objectives with those requests, right? So step three is all about what can you offer that individual, or what can you offer that channel, right, that you're going to be asking to help give you media attention. What can you offer them that's of value? Sometimes those things are, hey, can I put together a press release that I send to you so you don't have to write it because we have a fun announcement we want to make, or we have an important announcement we want to make via your channel? Or can we provide an expert on your podcast that you have? Let's say this channel, let's say it's a local business journal, as an example. Maybe they would benefit from an expert that you have in-house on maybe tax related issues or business related issues, financial related issues that you'd be able to provide and appear on a podcast or write an article for, or provide some sort of value to them. So having some offer to them, we see having kind of a higher success rate with response. So I'll stop there. Jim, any comments before I kind of share with you the final two steps? So just to recap, because I know that was kind of a lot. The first three steps were identifying that kind of target audience that you want to reach. Step two is identifying those channels and those individuals within the channels that you need to build a relationship with. And step three is kind of having an offer for them. Anything you would add to those three steps?
No, I mean, if you boil it down, it's basic relationship building, like identify what your goals or objectives are, leverage your relationships, and then figure out how you can deliver value, which strengthens the relationship. So I think it's great advice, and I can't wait to hear step four.
Yeah. So step four, I can give you, some tools, but kind of seeking out media opportunities. So just like your firm, us, we want to get media attention out there. Well, there are people in the media world that they need access to individuals such as yourself, such as the listeners of this podcast, in order for them to be able to write the articles, create the press releases, include quotes and things of that sort. So there's a great service called Help a Reporter Out. So I would Google that, Help a Reporter Out. HARO is what it's referred to. But a service like that is all about individuals within the media world sending out requests to experts such as yourself saying, hey, we're looking for a quote, or we're looking for information on this topic. And it gives you the ability to chime in and say, hey, I would love to be an expert to be on your podcast, or you can quote me in that article saying, these words, or here's my advice on the topic, whatever that is. There's another service called Quoted, which is spelled QWOTED, Quoted. So those are two services that the media world uses to seek experts such as yourself. And then step five is all about following up on your wins. So let's say you follow step 1 through 4 and you're starting to get some play in media. You're starting to be quoted. Maybe you're a guest on a podcast or a video, or maybe there's an article being written about your firm, things of that sort. Well, how can you improve the relationship with that channel, or saying, hey, we got a win under our belt? How do we double down on that? How do we strengthen the relationship with that channel? How do we continue to be of value to them versus saying, well, let's spend all of our energy chasing a new channel, which there's probably some value in continuing to seek out new channels. But we know how it works, Jim. It can be easier and more advantageous to both parties just to continue to build on that relationship, whether that's a regular column through that channel, whether it's a speaking slot, whether it's something where you can just gain some consistency with that. So those are the 5 key steps we see firms can take to actually influence getting media attention.
All right, great advice. So I'm sure people are asking, so if I go through those steps and we get media attention, what kind of results should I anticipate?
Yeah, you'll experience that actually we can influence this more than we thought. We don't have to sit on our hands and sit back and wait for some magical media unicorn to come out of the woodwork and say, oh, we're going to write something on your article. You start to learn, oh, this can be influenced in a positive way. This should be one of our strategies related to our marketing efforts, that we have a consistent strategy in place regarding media. And so I think you should expect that you'll see you can influence that. I think you should expect, phone calls from prospects that saw you in the local newspaper, or saw you or listen to you on a podcast through a channel that they're familiar with. I think what you should also see is positive buzz, so to speak, with regards to recruiting and talent, and even within your current, with your current staff and your current employees. They love to see that the firm that they're with is being recognized through various media channels. So there's some positive benefits from a talent perspective as well.
That's great. That's great. So I imagine this isn't just about accounting firms. How is this topic relevant to organizations outside of our profession?
Well, I think you said it well in your intro, Jim, about kind of an information packed world. If you put yourself in the shoes of some of these media outlets, some of these media channels, they're always looking for fresh voices, fresh content, infusing, some new companies into who they're talking about, and some of the attention that they're giving. And so there's so much demand put on these media companies to produce. They're being reached out to people from all sorts of industries, you know, and so you are battling for attention, so to speak, with your audience. But it also provides a great opportunity for you. Again, if you put yourself in the shoes of those in the media world that are assigned to produce this content, you'll be a fresh voice to them. So just knowing that you are kind of competing for your audience's attention with, everything else they have going on in their lives.
Yeah. So what would you say the next step for someone that's listening out there? Next step should they take?
Yeah, I'll just give two. One is clarify who you want to reach. Okay. It may be influenced by a service line you're looking to grow, and you want to go after certain types of, a certain type of audience. It may be related to individuals you want to recruit to your firm. But start with, who do you want to reach? And then just identify three channels. Do a little bit of research and identify 3 channels. Where do these individuals, what do they read? Where do they go? What are their sources? Identify 3 channels and just reach out to the editors, anyone you can find on the website, and offer up to be an expert in a few different fields. And I would say if you do that, just by the act of doing that, you may feel like it's not going to work. You may feel like it's not going to create some momentum. I think if you just start to take those steps, you'll see that it's easier to get wins in that space than maybe you thought.
All right. Thanks, John. Time flies when we're having a great conversation. So before I hand things off to you and you close us out here, how can someone find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So feel free to just type in John Hubbard, John without an H on LinkedIn. You might see me pop up there. I'm also pretty active on Twitter. So John_Hubbard as well. And you can find me on both of those social channels. So Jim, thank you for being willing to ask me these questions. It's definitely a lot easier to be in your seat than it is mine for this episode. And that's a good reminder for when I host you next time. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this topic, we release new episodes every Tuesday morning, and we always change it up. Sometimes it's about technology, sometimes it's about growth, talent, process, and everything in between. So Jim, thanks again for kind of being the host for this episode. And for those listeners, please go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. And thanks for listening.